Hi everyone, Helena here, Kelly here. Welcome to Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors and coaches to build a business on your terms. And whilst everyone's just sort of settling in and doing what you're doing, what I want to do is just invite you to share the buzz in your business. And we really do mean it when we say put the buzz in your business in the comments below, because actually we like to hear what's going on. So to give you an example of the buzz in our business this week, tomorrow we've actually got, what have we got?
We have our Connect and Create Day.
Exactly. And so that's really exciting. We've got 16 fantastic speakers, authors and coaches coming to actually not only connect with each other, build the collaborations that they're actually doing, but to actually
get stuff done
and get some cool feedback on it, which is really good.
Yeah, so we're happy. This is our second one that we've run, and it's another sellout.
Yeah.
So we are aiming to, well, we've got the dates for next year. We run 5 a year.
Yeah.
So the next one is January the 9th.
Put that in your diary already.
And we promote them in the Connection Hub. So I'll put the link in the comments to the Connection Hub, which is our Facebook group.
Yeah.
So if you're not part of the Connection Hub, join today. We connect you with speaker authors, coaches, trainers, everyone that
suppliers,
can help you build a business
publishers,
on your terms.
web people, you name it.
And awesome people like copyright, just like our guest.
That's exactly
Alison.
it, which is just amazing. There is one other little bit of buzz in our business.
Oh yeah, there is.
Yeah, so we actually took part in a summit this week. Well, not this week. We recorded it. It starts this week, and there are some fantastic and awesome people. I've actually been listening late at night, and there are some really amazing people in there. So Kelly's gonna, she's working on the laptop over here.
It's called the Intuitive Business Secret, no, the Intuitive Entrepreneurs Summit.
Yeah.
So there are some Connection Hub members that are speaking on there, like Andrew Eggleton, Richard Tyler, us,
yes,
Anna. So she's hosting it. So there's the link to join the summit. It's a free summit, and you get 22 experts over 22 days talking about everything to do with building a lead generation system and building an engaging audience for your business. So if you want some free advice, then it's a great summit to be part of.
It really is.
I'll put the link in the comments for you.
So enjoy that. And Alison's very patiently waiting. So
Alison, before we introduce who you do, what you do, and what you're going to be talking to us about today, tell us a little bit about the buzz in your business.
That's right.
Well, it's show and tell time, because look, my book. It came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's doing really well, and it's about breast cancer. And that touches 1 in 8 women. So it's not just a subject for people who've had it, it's a subject for their friends too.
Yeah. And surprisingly, it's done very well in the prostate cancer section.
That was the funniest thing, that it was actually almost doing better in the prostate category than in the breast cancer category. I was really worried that it was going to win. We'll never know.
You're a Hay House published author, which I know for a lot of people in the Connection Hub and a lot of our members is a dream. And you were really good and supportive in actually the campaign that was recently launched about getting more authors from diverse backgrounds to be Hay House authors. So thank you for being part of that campaign in our hub and encouraging. And Dion was one of the ones that won.
Yeah, well done, honey.
In our group. So it's great to actually have published authors in the group that they can display their journey and show their successes,
and just share the wisdom of the journey along the way as well.
Yeah. So I know we've got Namia and Daisy and Michelle and people joining. So hey everybody, we're going to get into detail because we're not actually talking about you as an author today.
That's right. We're talking about a different hat altogether, and we're on the clock because the other bit of buzz in your business is that you have to go at 12:30 because you've got a radio interview to go and do.
Yes.
So we're talking all about copy today, and that's because as a speaker, author, or coach, you're always writing copy.
Yes.
Right? So whether it's social media, whether it's sales pages, opt-in pages, webinar stuff, email titles, all the things. Emails themselves. They're things that you're constantly having to market and put yourself out there. And we always get the questions of, have you got a template for this? Or have you got good guidelines for what length email titles should be, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And we give people advice, but also you are one of our Changemaker Central members,
yes,
which is our membership program, and you are always in there giving advice.
You
to
are
members,
phenomenal.
You're great, but we're telling you to stop it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you are.
So we are going to float a little bit of an idea at the end of the live today to see how we can support both the Connection Hub members and the Changemaker Central members.
Yeah.
But let's go into a little bit about your journey, because I know actually you do copy for bigger companies at the moment. You don't really work with the individual SMEs or speakers or
entrepreneurs.
coaches.
Yeah.
No,
Tell me about your journey, Han, from how you actually, where you've come from and how you come into copywriting.
Yes.
Well, I came into copywriting from PR. So I had these big high-profile PR jobs, running the press office for the Channel Tunnel, ID cards and the sale of the Millennium Dome, all sorts of stuff like that.
Oh,
so I have always done PR writing, which then kind of melded into doing speeches, doing scripts for videos. I worked in a video company when I was just starting out. So I've always been writing in one form or another. And then when I decided that I didn't want to do these big jobs anymore, I went freelance. And then literally from one job for Nikon, I now write in so many capacities for Nikon, Starbucks, TomTom, always by referral. I don't advertise. It's great. It's a great way to make it.
You must be really bloody good.
Really good.
Well, we know that you are.
We know that you are. Just the tiny tweaks that you actually make for the Changemakers Central kind of members that you've done are just phenomenal. It's just, you just go, oh, I get why it's better now, but I would never have been able to do it, right? So it's that.
So hopefully today
Oh, sorry, Michelle's saying, do you know David Taylor from your Dome PR days?
Oh no, it's not ringing a bell. It might have been because there were two sections to that. So I was working on the sale of it after it closed.
Oh,
okay. And that he worked on it while it was open.
Yeah,
right.
I get it.
That makes sense. And I do just want to say that Belinda Clark is actually on here. So I know you shared the retreat kind of together and everything. So
she's listening live from Ibiza.
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. I wish I were speaking from Ibiza. That would be cool.
Okay, so let's talk about headlines and titles, because we know that they are the key way to grab the attention of your audience. So so this is pens out, people, because Alison's gold, right? So what are the top do's and don'ts around writing your headlines?
It's got to be short. It's got to be punchy. It has to be emotive. It has to tell a story. It has to encapsulate something. So it's either got to solve a problem, or it's got to give a transformation. And I'm just going to show the book again to say, look, stronger than before. There's a transformation in that book title. And if you're doing it for a product, you have to give some sense of that. I mean, Mark Twain actually said, I would have written a short letter, but I didn't have time, so I wrote a long one. Because it's true. It's learning how to write short is a skill. The people who write for newspapers like The Sun, and they write those big headlines that are just like one word, they get paid the big money because they know how to encapsulate.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to really get rid of all the dross, any extraneous words, and just keep making it smaller and smaller and smaller. And I've done a lot of copywriting, very small character counts. So I'm practiced in that. So it's practice. Make sure that you write it, come up with an idea, put it up there, walk away, come back and see if you can make it smaller.
Okay,
great.
So when you've got like an email subject header, your advice is it doesn't basically go longer than what fits on the screen, so that everything should fit straight on.
Yeah, absolutely. And even better, that it doesn't really go longer than a couple of words, because you want your titles, your headlines are like the CV to a job interview.
Yeah.
If they don't like your CV, they're not going to invite you for interview.
Yeah.
So if you can't grab their attention at the very beginning with your headline and the immediate copy that comes underneath, you've wasted your time.
And so you're saying there that actually one of the big things to put in the headlines and the titles is about the transformations, just like your book.
Yeah. Well, we did that the other day, just looking at what Michelle had with her lead page. And it was great. She was solving a problem, but the copy was long.
Yeah.
Right.
Personally, I like to give the transformation up front. So we ended up with something like supercharge your social media strategy.
Yeah.
So notice alliteration. I love alliteration. It's easier on the eye. You know, it looks better. So you go with something like that because it's shorter, it's sharper, and then you can do like, have you been struggling to do this, da, 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 but you've immediately grabbed them with the thing that they want.
Okay,
Right.
I get that.
Yeah.
And what about using titles as like intrigue statements and things that people don't actually know what the transformation is? What's your take on those types of titles?
I would use that. I think you can intrigue people to read more, but if it starts looking clickbaity, there is nothing more frustrating than clicking through to something, wasting your time and realizing you were never interested in it anyway, that you've just been dragged into something.
Yeah.
So it's a conversation. Writing is a conversation. So you're speaking to someone. It's not just what you want to say, but what do they want to hear?
Yeah.
So you're always moving from one foot of the writer to the reader on the other.
Yeah. And that's an interesting one, just in terms of when people do actually use a copywriter, when people use someone like you to outsource to because they just can't get their head around writing copy. Do you have any advice or a process that people can actually follow to ensure that they don't lose their voice, that actually, you know, you're taking on their voice for them? So how do they not lose their voice and personality?
Well, a good copywriter won't do that. They will either enhance the voice or they'll just make it sound better, but it will still sound like you. The thing is that the trick is in the brief, and you should do this for yourself. If you're going to write something, you should know why you're writing it. You should know who it's speaking to. You should know how long it is. You should know the tone of voice you want to use. You don't want to use the innocent drinks, you know, cute and chatty tone if you want to sell financial products, unless that's your brand. You want to make sure that you have all the information there so that the copywriter knows which direction to take with it. You want to know what the features are, the benefits, how strongly they want to, you know, focus on benefits and perhaps very little on features. Because it's different for consumer versus business to business. And
we're just getting some feedback here. A lot of people saying they need to keep on their copy brief is what Daisy's saying, and Michelle's saying that, you know, that is one of the things. She has a lot to say, and keeping it brief is what challenges her. So
that's do it, walk away, come back and start skinning it. Really, I do that all the time, and I'm used to writing because of the tight stuff that I write. It might only be 150, 200 characters. If I get it wrong and I go over by one, I have to rewrite the whole thing.
Wow.
So for one letter, I have to find another way of saying it. So
every word has to earn the right to be in there.
Every character has to earn its right to be there.
And that's an interesting one, you know, for those of us who are sort of prone to words and using many words. Yeah, you. So I think there's a beautiful little challenge to yourself that you can do if you are sitting down to do your copy, which is to say, right, this is going to be no more than, you know, X number of characters or whatever it is, because there's a beautiful challenge in getting to the essence of what that is. You know, just like we have an essence of personality, as you say, there's also the essence of what am I trying to say. So I think actually playing just even with that concept of, I've only got this many characters, now what will I do with what I'm trying to say?
It's like taking the Twitter challenge, isn't it? I know they've increased their characters, but it used to be like, oh, get it
142. That's it.
So that's what you should be doing to some of your stuff. But just going back to the outsourcing bit, Alison, with not losing the voice, if people are thinking of outsourcing their copy, what's like a good methodology? Would it be best that they write something first and then send it to a copywriter, or they write the brief and you do it from scratch? What would be your idea?
No, you should write the brief.
Okay.
Because you know what needs to be said, and you should be, let's say we're talking about a product and it has 20 key features. You should be prioritizing those key features because you should know your market. You should be saying, I want to emphasize this. I want to say that this is the type of person I want to reach. This is the length of the copy and where it fits on the page. This is the call to action that I want my clients to move on to. So you need to have a really clear idea. If you don't have clarity in the beginning, you're going to end up with a mess. And then you're going to drive your copywriter mad.
And we never, ever, ever want to do that, do we? No.
So I know one of the things that you talk about and copywriters talk about a lot is telling a story, because that's where you get your reader on board. And also I know you do a lot of PR work as well. So can you give people some advice about how can they tell their story, and also just give them advice on why it's so important to not just list features and benefits of your product, but to take your user on a journey?
Well, there's a couple of reasons behind that. One, story is emotive. It takes you on a journey. You want to read it.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, if you want to get into a newspaper, if you want to get into a magazine, if you don't have a story, they're not interested. The fact that you've got a product is like, who cares?
Everyone else.
But if you have a product that addresses a need that is topical, like this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so you've made it topical, or you've got an innovation, then you've got a story to tell. Every story has 3 acts: beginning, middle, end. It's girl meets boy, boy loses girl, and then they get together in the end. That's the whole thing. Every story, look at any newspaper story and you'll see there's some kind of conflict.
Some the hero's journey
arc happens in the storytelling. So if you haven't got that journey arc that says, I have this product, it is addressing this need, all these people who have suffered this are now going to be able to do this. If you don't have that journey in your copy, there's no story.
Yeah, and of course, as people connect with the story, they connect with the product or the problem that they're actually having, and just go, oh, hang on a second, yeah, I could use that.
Because they see themselves in the journey, don't they? In the story, they're like, oh, I really relate to that character or that person. I've been there, and I want that result.
Yeah,
and also because people buy for emotional reasons. They don't just follow the logic. They buy because emotionally they're tapping into the story that you've told, the tone of voice that you've used. There's something about it that resonates with them that says, oh, this is the product for me, because you're not going to be the product for everybody.
And so the thing that shows up for me there is how much of your story do you tell? How much of the product story do you tell? So, because actually there's a simple balance there, isn't there?
There is, but that's going to move depending on what your brand story is. So let's say you're working for big brands like I do. It's going to be about the product and about the aspiration. It's what is this? Is it going to make me feel more professional? Is it going to make me feel more stylish? Is it going to make me feel like I'm ahead of the crowd for those big brands? For the smaller ones, you've probably got your personal story in there. And then you can tell much more of your story, but your story needs to be interesting. I am not, I'm not that interested, and I love reading and writing, in hearing everyone's like long story. You want them to get to it.
And I think that's
to understand how their story connects with why you should get involved in this product.
And I can hear a lot of our viewers' minds going, okay, so the first point that Alison told us was to keep it brief.
Exactly.
And now she's telling us to tell a story. So how do we combine the briefness of the story without the autobiography? And I have one more question to dovetail this. Because we get asked it all the time. Short copy or long copy on sales pages?
Okay, I'm going to start with that one because personally, I'm a short copy person.
But do you think that's a UK thing?
It's a bit more UK thing, because I was going to say long copy is very American. So I think you need to go short to medium for the UK. The Americans and I think if you got into the middle ground, you'd be okay in both markets. But I am not going to scroll down a page. I don't care. I'm not that interested. If you don't sell to me before the the roll down,
that was literally going to be my question. That was So you're saying that short copy is whatever I see on my screen above the fold,
basically. But also,
medium, I might go a teeny bit lower, but other than that, forget it.
But think of it like 2 ways. If you can't grab them at that short copy, the long copy is not going to sell. Because you have to encourage them to scroll down.
You've got to get the hook.
So you have to get them hooked in the first bit to think, okay, and this is press release structure. In a press release, you tell in the first paragraph the entire story. The middle paragraphs are all about the detail and the background. behind it, and it unfolds the story. And then the final paragraph encapsulates everything that happened. Read any newspaper article and you'll see that's exactly how it works.
That's gold. I didn't know
It
that.
is.
That's
Oh yeah,
really great.
it's like the edges of an accordion. You know,
Yeah.
there's the edge, there's this bit, and then you can stretch or
but the
move as
first
much
bit
as you
is
want.
the movie trailer that
That's
basically
right.
tells everything that happens.
Yeah.
And it's all got to be there. So if you've got an event, I want to know in the first paragraph what's happening, why it's happening, who should be going, and when it's happening. It's all there.
Beautiful.
I don't want to have to keep scrolling down to find out.
And I think that's some of the, especially on web copy, I think that's probably a lot of the mistakes that people make, because they make that first above the fold all about them.
I know.
Yes.
All about the event or whatever.
Yeah, or they start with a bio that's like, you know, I'm a coach, I'm a journalist, I'm a counselor. Like I don't care. I want to know, what are you going to do for me?
What's in it for me?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Meet me where I'm at.
then I think your kind of background can go further down, because then you're selling the story in the first paragraph. You're giving the body of the story in the middle one, then you're encapsulating at the end.
Yeah.
So anything that bolsters the first part of the story, which is the entire story, anything that bolsters that goes in the middle.
Right.
There was a guy who taught me speaking a long time ago, and he had a great way of saying this, very similar. Tell them what you're going to tell them, then tell them what you told them.
Yeah, we've been told that one.
Yeah, totally. Do you know
Because
what?
writing is a conversation.
Yeah. I learned that one at TGI Fridays.
I learned that
Would
one
you
from Quentin Swain.
Seriously, like how amazing is that?
So we have a question here from Michaela, who she says, can you talk a little bit about spacing and layout, Alison?
Well, that's a design question.
Okay.
Really, okay, so here's the thing. Imagine looking at a page on an Apple website, then imagine looking at an Indian takeaway menu. That's the difference. That's design. Because people throw in, like people with small businesses, Indian, Chinese takeaway, I'm not trying, it's just any small business with a restaurant will usually cover every square inch of a brochure with copy.
Which of course is then why we go back to the brevity.
Yeah.
Like if you have space and you have words in that space, that's going to grab the attention, right?
And you have to remember that space is luxury. You don't see luxury goods selling with great long copy.
Or
they have training. They have tons of image, little bit of copy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I really like that.
And that's really on brand as well, isn't it? Because if your brand is a product and it's very aesthetic and you want lovely, luxurious images or whatever it is, then that's going to do most of the selling rather than the words.
It is, because you're going to pick it up and you're going to go, oh, that feels good. It has a great weight of paper. I like the fact that it's laid out. You won't even make these decisions consciously.
Yeah.
But that's what you're doing. You're going, oh, that feels like it's a luxury thing.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. So I have a question, just because I can imagine people are thinking about this, is what should I do for myself and what should I think about outsourcing to a copywriter?
I think you can do a kind of hybrid. If you really are not practiced at writing, outsource.
Okay,
cool.
Really, because especially if you're not practiced at writing for marketing.
Yeah.
Because also there's so many different types of writing. So
And
you might be an amazing creative writer, but a terrible marketer.
Yeah. And that's actually partly why I was asking, because I think some of us can judge the writing that we do. For example, like we have many budding authors inside the Connection Hub, and those people are still finding their voice and finding their feet. And actually that's a very different type of writing to the copywriting that they might do for a landing page or something along those lines.
It's a completely different skill. I struggled writing 50,000 words for a book. Can you imagine? I write 200 characters.
And you didn't beat yourself up about that at all.
Yeah. So I sat down and thought, oh my God, I'm going to have to write 50,000 words.
It's like, I'm used to writing 3 and it's done.
Yeah. And it's like, well, look, there's the title, sorted.
That was what I was thinking, which is amazing.
So I've just got a question here from Selena, going back to long and short copy. She's saying, why do you think, or why do people think that long copy works better in the States? Why she hears it a lot, but why?
Because it's an industry standard.
So they're used to it.
Yeah. And there are people, copywriters, who make an absolute fortune on long copy. Like if you want to get a sales letter from them, it might be $50,000.
Right.
So and also because it comes from direct mail, which was always long copy, if you recall. So that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she's asking, can you give a little bit about how to brief a copywriter? So what should be in that brief when you're saying you should write your own brief?
Especially so that they get your style.
Yeah. So it is what I said before, it's the mechanics of it. What is it that you want to say? How do you want to say it? That's your tone of voice. Who are you speaking to? So who is the audience? Who's the readership? It's what is it that you want to stress? How do you want the reader to feel? So you want to evoke some kind of emotion. So what is it that you're trying to get them to feel and to do?
Yeah.
Then you need to supply a lot of background information as well, because when I'm writing copy, I get some really short stuff, but then I want a lot of background information so I can place it in context. I want to understand where it fits in the market, where this product fits in your product scale. You know, who's it for? Is it something that's like a cheaper version? Is it your luxury product? Because that changes the tone of voice I'm working with.
Yeah. And I really like your comment earlier when you were describing this, that if you list out all the features and benefits, put them in priority order. So what's the thing that actually people go, oh, I love that.
That's
part
right.
about your product or service.
Yeah.
So if you have a list of them, but then I think it's also, as a copywriter, I think it's useful for you to describe the product or service. So, you know, really, if it's a physical product, and what size is it, what's tangible, what, you know, all that type of stuff. If it's
absolutely. So if I'm writing about a product, I do a lot of camera stuff. So if I'm writing about a camera, they're not usually just going to give me one, but I have all the pictures, and I have the pictures that have been shot with the camera. So I know what its capacity is, whether it's for travel photographers or whether it's for portrait artists.
Yeah.
So, you know, I have a kind of 360 concept of what the product is, but also who it's supposed to be reaching and how do I want them to feel, because the lower level products, which are all about color and style and fun, they're different. They're reaching a different audience. They have a different tone of voice.
Yes. And I think the thing, and if I'm reading Selena right, there's something here about how do you trust a copywriter to pick up your tone, to pick up your personal voice, and that.
Well, one, you have to have a defined brand first. You have to know who you are.
Right.
If you don't know, you can't tell them.
Yeah.
So I remember being asked by Bell Pottinger, one of the PR companies, what does success look like?
Great question.
So ask yourself that question. What does success look like?
Yeah.
So how do you want that copy to sound?
Yeah.
Is it going to be friendly? Is it going to be authoritative but friendly? Is it going to be, I'm the expert?
Yeah. I remember being told once, and I found it really useful. And again, it's back to this brevity. If there were 3 tones that you could actually convey, what would those 3 adjectives be? Warm, friendly, gentleman, for example. So the 3 words that you would want a copywriter to encapsulate about you for your voice is this. That happening.
That works, as it does work, like a kind of mission statement, of a 3-word mission statement of exactly what your brand is. If you have that, you can give that to a copywriter and say, this is who I am.
I think it's also important as well from brand, because in our branding guidelines, we're like, okay, do we put exclamation marks everywhere? No. Do we capitalize things? No. So it's, you know, those things are actually important in the aesthetics of the copy as well as the words used.
Yeah.
And
sorry, speaking of aesthetics, spell it properly, get someone else to do your work. If you're not a professional writer, and we all make mistakes, but if you're not a professional writer, you'll make a lot more than most.
Yeah.
And you won't see them.
I know you've got to get off for your interview, but I'm just going to pick up this last one from Michelle. And Selena, I think it would be really good if you and Alison hook up, because I know you've got questions. But Michelle was asking more about what's your take on using humor and stuff in titles and in headlines, which is
I like that. I really like that. I think it gives personality.
Okay.
I think I will use song titles. I will use movie titles. If I were writing about, let's say, a memory product, I'd be using Total Recall.
Of course.
I'd be like play on words. I'd be constantly looking. Actually, when I was looking for the title for my book, that's what I did. I went through a load of music titles, film titles, just trying to think what would spark an idea.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
Are always short, aren't they?
No, I really love that.
Also, because they told me that there was a book in the States that was successful and it had a short title, and I went, but that's a song title.
Ta-da!
But hers was a memoir, mine wasn't, and I just thought, I bet there's a song that will work for mine.
Yeah, it's almost tried and tested, isn't it? So you have to think about collective or universal memory. It has a universal reference. Exactly.
So there's a shorthand that's gone before.
Yeah.
So if you're using something like Total Recall, everyone's going to get it.
Yeah.
Totally. So it tells a lot of the story for you, and you can then crack on with what's actually relevant. Which
again, one caveat: be careful of the association that you're putting it with.
Yeah.
Because that can go horribly wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's important from a cultural perspective as well, because I've seen a couple of faux pas around that too.
Yeah.
So let's
not go down that road.
That's right.
So we want to float this idea, right?
Yeah, we do. We do.
So I know we've been talking to you in our Changemaker Central membership about, how you can how people can access your skills as a speaker, author, or coach. And you came up with an ingenious idea that we want the people on the live and the people watching this on the recall to put yes in the comments if you're interested in what Alison's about to propose, and then we'll see if we can put this together. So tell us a little bit about Copy Clinic, Alison.
Okay, so we're just testing the water here about, oh my God, I told you Mouse was going to come through the cat flap. You're going to get a cat coming through the cat flap. Any second now. I can hear the screaming already. Anyway, the idea, guys, before the screaming starts, Copy Clinic. So basically, I'm really busy with other copy, and it's expensive. But to make it less expensive is I can do what I've been doing in Changemaker Central and in the Hub, is actually just fix your copy. So it would be a short amount of my time. You write it yourself. I give you some direction on how to write it, and then I fix it for you.
Beautiful.
So that's an option that I'm coming up with. If you're interested, let me know. It's not something I'm going to get into until probably November, early next year, but it's an option.
Just type yes in the comments if you think you'd like to be part of a copy clinic where Alison will review your stuff. You do the work, you write it, but she refines it, she tweaks it, she gives you feedback there. The yeses are coming in, Alison.
Hurrah! Which actually means that you learn as every bit of copy is tweaked, which is also the whole purpose of this. So going right back to the start of the call, actually, how do you become good at this? It might well be that you do this interim solution and do it in that way.
And it's so much cheaper. Like Selena says, she's wasted so much money on copywriters that aren't converting for her. So this is a way of actually, owning the process yourself.
And owning your voice and still getting the professional feedback that you need. So I love that.
And being really clear on who you are. The good copywriting is going to help you be really clear on who you are, what your brand stands for.
Completely.
Brilliant. We love that.
So it's Alison Porter, and people can find you inside the Connection Hub. But if they wanted to find out a little bit more, where else can they find you?
I've got my website, but it really is focused on the book at the moment. But I will put up another page about Copy Clinic when I get it started. But at the moment, it's Alison Porter, that's ALISON, Porter, PORTER.co.uk.
I've just put it in the comments.
Oh, look at that. How efficient is that? In which case, we'd love to keep you for a long
we
time.
Talk to you all day, but we know you've got to get to an interview.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Marlow FM today.
Yeah, and do you know what I really love is that this is just a demonstration of the products emerging that actually show up for us. And so I love the idea of Copy Clinic actually just growing out of the listening that we do to the clients or the potential clients avatar that we've actually got, that then just shows up, and then we float the idea and see whether it actually works. So thank you for also being a beautiful demonstration of how products emerge.
Yes. Thank you. Well, thank you for the
in our
opportunity.
community.
And give our love to Mr. Mouse the cat.
Yes, he's run away because I didn't answer the door. He wouldn't even come through his own cat flap. Right. Okay, I'm just going to go back to being a slave now.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Have a great day, darling. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.